The news broke that Chelsea's Nemanja Matic has joined Manchester United for just under £40 million yesterday. It sees Matic once again team up with his former Chelsea boss Jose Mourinho, who brought him back to Chelsea in 2014. Mourinho seemingly trusts Matic a lot and sees him as an important part in United's title-winning chances. Anyway, this has got us thinking about some managers who always seemingly turn to one player when they move to a different club. And we've managed to find 9 of them, so here are 9 players that always sign for the same manager. Didier Drogba. Another multiple Mourinho signing, Drogba was first snapped up by the Portuguese boss back in 2004 from Marseille. And Drogba smashed 65 goals during the 3 seasons that he and Mourinho initially worked together, and he stayed at Stamford Bridge until 2012, winning multiple Premier League titles and the Champions League. He then went on to China and Galatasaray before teaming back up with Mourinho and Chelsea in 2014, where he scored 4 times in 28 games, but did do the League and League Cup double. Nico Kranjčar. We could probably do an entire video on players that Harry Redknapp has repeatedly signed, but that would be a little bit boring, so we're just going to do 3 instead. Anyway, Harry had a bit of a love affair with this Croatian midfielder. Incredibly, he signed him not once, not twice, but 3 times, though one of those was on a 2-year loan. He spent 3 years at Portsmouth with Redknapp before then moving to Spurs, where he spent another 3 years before Harry got the sack. And then the two teamed up again for 2 seasons at QPR, playing in both the Championship and the Premier League. Somewhat surprisingly, he played more for QPR than he did for Spurs. Paddy Kenny. If Kranjčar and Redknapp had a bit of a love affair, then Paddy Kenny and Neil Warnock were just simply married for the past 2 decades or so. Kenny first teamed up with Warnock at Bury and then moved to Sheffield United, where he spent 8 years playing more than 300 games. Warnock then signed him for QPR, helping them win promotion to the Premier League, and then his 4th time came 2 years later at Leeds United, and they were finally reunited for a 5th time, and so far a final time, in 2016 at Rotherham. Warnock is still at Cardiff, so maybe Kenny will join as a goalkeeping coach or just a goalkeeper at some point. Ronald de Boer, going down the slightly hipster route here simply because we love RDB. He was re-signed for Ajax from FC20 by Louis van Gaal in 1993 and spent 6 seasons there, playing 127 games. While he wasn't as good as his twin brother, he was still a great player, and Van Gaal saw that and ended up signing both of them for £22 million for Barcelona. Though he only played 37 times for Barca, he did win La Liga in his first season and is seemingly pretty good friends with Van Gaal still. Jermaine Defoe. Sorry, another Harry Redknapp entry, he just can't help himself. Anyway, Redknapp signed Defoe from Charlton initially as a youngster and even gave him his West Ham debut. He then signed him for Portsmouth in 2008 before Redknapp left for Spurs, and then Defoe joined him there in 2009. Incredibly, they haven't managed to team up since, and while it's unlikely to ever happen, we wouldn't rule it out because Redknapp is Redknapp. Christian Panucci. When Fabio Capello trusts you to be your right back, then you must be doing something pretty good, and that was definitely the case with Panucci. Capello brought him into AC Milan as a replacement for Mauro Tossotti, who was getting on a bit by 1993. After 3 excellent seasons in Milan, Panucci and Capello both left for the Bernabeu and spent a few years there. While it would take them a few more years, well, until 2001, to team back up again, they did spend some great years at Roma, and Panucci actually played till 2009 there. Peter Crouch. The last Harry Redknapp entry, I promise, but thank God he has signed all of these players multiple times, because we'd be struggling for content, right? Anyway, Crouch and Redknapp very briefly worked together at Portsmouth before Redknapp actually sold him to Aston Villa. Then they teamed up together at Southampton before Redknapp eventually re-signed him for Portsmouth. And then, you guessed it, Harry would sign him again for Tottenham, because God forbid that Redknapp would ever use his scouts to find new players. Ricardo Carvalho. Mourinho seemed to trust Carvalho with his life, or at least his defensive responsibilities. He was a key part of Porto's Champions League winning side, and Mourinho splashed £20 million on him to bring him to Chelsea. He spent 6 years at the Blues before Mourinho decided to bring him to Real Madrid for about £6 million. And while he had an excellent first season there, his other 2 were mainly spent warming the bench. And while he might have the turning circle of a tank these days, back in his day, he was an excellent centre-back. And finally, John McGovern. This Scottish midfielder played for 5 clubs during his career and 4 of those he played under Brian Clough. In fact, Clough gave him his league debut at Hartlepool and then signed him for Derby County to help win promotion to the First Division. He went on to play 190 times for Derby and won the First Division title in 1972. And then he joined Clough at Leeds United during that ill-fated 44-day reign. McGovern only played 4 times for the club before once again moving to join Clough at 2nd Division Nottingham Forest. And that was where he had his best success, winning the First Division title and back-to-back European titles. Incredibly, McGovern is one of only 2 Scottish players to have won the European Cup but never be called up to the Scottish national team.